You're gonna be a great dad.
You're a great mom already. Hello, Ned's wife. I love you. Well, I read it with my wife.
Alexandria.
Hello, welcome.
And who was your favorite Try Guy? We can move on. We'll come back to it.
Marriages tend to, not get as good as they get older. But I don't know.
I guess I sort of trusted his like inner moral compass to not put anything out there that would bring shame to the family.
Now to think about my wife.
So you may remember that 2022 was a bit of a rough year for wife guys. From, oh god, what was there even? There was John Mulaney. He swiftly moved on from his wife of 7 years with Olivia Munn. And then there was Adam Levine flirting with an influencer and almost naming his son after her. That happened. And then, of course, there was Ned Flanders, as I kept accidentally calling Ned Fulmer from the Try Guys as I was scripting this video. It's not my fault, okay? It's his parents. They did that to him. But I mean, listen, for dudes who built their brand around just how much they loved their wives, God, they really did not do a good job of loving their wives. And that is what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be quite fun, I think. So we're going to chat about Buzzfeed, the Try Guys, Ned Fulmer, of course, and how he earned the label of the wife guy of the Try Guys. And then we're going to cover the scandal that ruined Ned Fulmer's career as he knew it, and also his family life as he knew it. And we'll delve a little into the public fallout and the aftermath for him almost 2.5 years later, is it? We're also going to stop to yap a little bit about some other wife guys and some other stuff along the way. We won't just be talking about Ned for a full hour. I don't know if I could handle that, to be honest with you. Before I do get knee deep in this topic, forehead deep in this topic, I do want to say two things, and the first thing is thank you so much. My platform is growing, it's booming, and I'm just sitting back in shock and terror. I'm like, okay, stop now. I've hit, I hit over 5,000 subscribers, and that's what I was going to say, but now I've hit over 6,000 subscribers, so I'm a little bit terrified, but it has been my dream since literally ever since I can remember for YouTube to be my job. And I'm just so appreciative that now it's to the point where so many people are willing to jump down these silly little rabbit holes with me, come on these little yap session journeys. I feel like I've been hired for the job, you know what I mean? Maybe as an intern or something, but still, I'm in the job. And it's so exciting. I've always wanted to get to the point with a platform where I could use it to do some sort of good, whether that be having a positive impact on someone's emotional state or mental state, even just their day, or even financially, having, getting to the point where I do have a little bit of extra money that I can use to put towards a cause or give to people in need here and there. And I can see that becoming more feasible now, and I'm so great. I'm just, I don't think I can express how beyond grateful I am. And the second thing I'd like to say, which I briefly touched on already, is I'm terrified. My platform is growing. I feel like there are so many eyes on me, and I'm this is what I wanted, but I'm also stop. I do hope to foster an environment here where everyone feels welcome to come in and yap, whether you've got the majority opinion or not. Everyone is different. I think that's what makes people so interesting and discussions so interesting. But with that in mind, we can definitely all manage to have polite and considerate conversations and discussions with people. And on that note, if you ever feel like I overstep in a video, please do point it out to me, because I am only human. I'm not going to be perfect all the time, and I do feel a growing pressure as my platform grows to be inhuman and say things perfectly and address things perfectly, and I can't do that. I'm just me. So I'm not going to phrase everything flawlessly all the time. I'm not going to take the right approach all the time. I'm never going to be perfect. I'm never going to please everyone, but I will absolutely take constructive criticism on board, and I do appreciate when people take the time to be I don't think this was right. The only thing I cannot accept criticism on is my accent, because I don't even know where she came from. She just does what she wants, okay? I don't control her. But back onto the topic of this video. Now that that's all out of the... excuse me, are you falling asleep? The boring part is over now. I promise you, open your eyes, okay? Pay attention. You're gonna miss so much otherwise. Trust me. Really interesting video, yeah. But as always, before we can dig into the meat of this story, the meat being wife guys having affairs, we have to eat the potatoes. And the potatoes in this story are Ned Fulmer and the Try Guys. And the water that they were boiled in, these potatoes, it's a weird analogy. The water the potatoes were boiled in is Buzzfeed. Now, if you don't remember Buzzfeed, then yes you do. Don't lie to me, okay? I do understand if you want to forget about the times where you had to scroll past like 17 BuzzFeed videos in your recommended section before you got to a video you actually wanted to watch. I know times were tough, okay, but don't be delusional. You know BuzzFeed, but for reintroductory purposes, I'll call BuzzFeed an entertainment company, and loosely, very loosely, a news company, because they would like to call themselves that. For context, their articles generally look something like this one, which is titled, Amanda Seyfried revealed what happened when her boobs fell out in front of Glenn Powell at the 2023 Critics' Choice Awards. So similarly to me, you can tell that BuzzFeed covers very important and life-changing topics. And they've even produced some movies, which I had no idea about. I mean, they released one in 2021, 2 in 2022, and then 4 in 2023, and then I think they just gave up completely because they realized, oh, we fucked up the pattern. You know, it was meant to be 3 in 2023, 4 in 2024, and they scrapped it all. No more BuzzFeed movies for us, what a shame, but BuzzFeed, in my circle, was best known for pumping out just like an endless amount of brain rot quizzes that are like simultaneously the worst things I've ever spent my time on and the best things to exist on the internet. I mean, I know what food I am because of BuzzFeed quizzes. I know what Taylor Swift era I am because of BuzzFeed quizzes. Where would I be without them? I've never known myself better since I started taking BuzzFeed quizzes, and I've also never felt worse. But as long as there are 14-year-olds on the planet, BuzzFeed quizzes will continue to prosper, I am sure. Something that has not so much continued to prosper, though, is BuzzFeed's YouTube channel. Not looking too hot. As I mentioned, there was a time and a place for BuzzFeed videos. That time was roughly 2014, and the place was everywhere. Everywhere, all over YouTube. But nowadays, no, they have very much fallen off. These guys, they have nearly 20 million subscribers, so close. But with the level of views that they're getting, I'm just not sure if they're ever going to surpass that number. I mean, as of me writing this script, which was yesterday, I don't know when you see the video, actually, I'm not going to make any claims, but they uploaded a video 11 days ago titled Lucy Hale and the F, Marry, Kill cast build the ultimate dating profile. And that got 4,300 views. So I think that alone gives you a pretty good idea of how their YouTube channel is going. But luckily for some creators, they were actually able to get their big break starring in BuzzFeed videos and then like split themselves off from the company before its virality and the small amount of charm that it had wore off. Some notable mentions are Sophia Nygaard, of course. She created the BuzzFeed series Ladylike, and then she moved on from the platform, and she has consistently been creating her own YouTube videos for like 8 years now, and people are eating it up. Like, every video she uploads is about 1,000 times more successful than the recent BuzzFeed videos have been, so that's, you know, saying something. She definitely made the right choice when she jumped ship. And then of course there's Ryan and Shane from BuzzFeed Unsolved. They were absolute hits on BuzzFeed, absolute hits in like the true crime and paranormal space on YouTube. They just took like a more lighthearted approach to the topic, I guess, which some people would argue is not ideal, I'm sure, but I can't personally remember them approaching anything with like disrespect. But either way, they left BuzzFeed in 2019 citing bad working conditions, which I'm sure it was. That company, oh my god, it like inhaled people like a big whale eating tiny little school of fish, and then it spat them back out again. It was like a revolving door. Anyway, Ryan and Shane, they formed their own company. It was called Watcher Entertainment, and they've had their hiccups here and there trying to get this sort of project off the ground. Like, at some point they thought, do you know what people really love is they love having to pay a subscription fee in order to access things that they like, and so they locked all their content behind a paywall, which people just loved. But no, they fought through that backlash. They pretty much have gotten back on their feet now. They're not doing too badly for themselves. And then finally, the one that we've all been waiting for, possibly the most iconic of them all. I'd have to ask the mirror on the wall though. But anyway, it was a little group called the Try Guys. So the Try Guys consisted of Keith, Eugene, Zach, and a fella called Ned Flanders. My brain always tells me Ned Flanders. It's Ned Fulmer. And I am being so serious when I tell you that the internet has never loved a group of men more. I'm not sure if even like the Sidemen could compete. I mean, like BuzzFeed combining the forces of these 4 dudes was on par with Simon Cowell shoving a bunch of little boys into a group together and calling them One Direction and making them dance like monkeys. Millions upon millions of people, I'm talking like upwards of 30 million people sometimes, would tune in just to watch these guys, just to watch them like try things. They just did stuff. People watched it. And to be fair, They were willing to give, like, just about anything a go with no apparent qualms. Like, they had no issue. And they knew that, like, millions of people would be watching them do whatever they were doing. And they were like, yeah, no, I'll try on women's underwear, that's fine. So good for them, I reckon. But in the grand scheme of things, like, when you boil it down, the Try Guys were literally just a silly, goofy little group of friends doing random shit. And that honestly seems like a cheat code for success on the internet. People just eat it up. It always works so well. But Keith has said about their success as the Try Guys, he said, there's so much growth and failure, and there's a reason that we're not just the success guys, we're the Try Guys. In every video, we don't master anything that we try, but that's not the point. By going in and simply trying and failing or doing okay, being open to a new experience and broadening our horizons, it just makes you a better person. We've seen it. We've become smarter, more emotional, more sensitive people as we've grown and tried the 200 things that we've tried. We want to really encourage that idea to others and in all the stuff that we do. We want to keep that freshness of going into something with an open mind, being respectful and giving it your all. If you totally suck at it, that's okay. It's not about how well you do it, it's about you learning and trying something new. And now in 2018, the Try Guys did the smart thing and they broke away from Buzzfeed to start their very own production company, just like Unsolved Mysteries, BuzzFeed Unsolved. They called their production company Second Try. Get it? And the Try Guys may have changed channels, but they definitely stuck to their same old, like, tried and true formula. On this new channel, they'd, you know, Keith would eat entire menus at fast food places. The guys would try different sports. They'd even try to be fathers. But one of them didn't really have to try, as far as that was considered. One of them was a father, was a family man, was so much further in life than the other guys. Married, kids. And that guy was, of course, Ned Fulmer. Now, Ned, he was a natural, okay? He was seemingly born to be a husband and a father, so dedicated, absolutely devoted family man. And he was not too shy to tell the world about it, okay? Like, for example, he made this video documenting his first week being a father, and he expressed like his excitement to be a parent alongside his wife Ariel. He said he was super keen to bond through like skin-on-skin contact with his son after his son was born, and he was emotionally invested in his child's well-being, as you'd expect from a parent.
Nobody wants to have a sick baby.
And now, according to Ned in this video, he took to fatherhood like a duck to water, okay, incredibly easily.
I feel like I've never not been a dad. I thought this would so drastically change my life, and I thought that I would be a different person, but it's still me, and now it's just life is more full. It's almost like life is in 3 dimensions now. I just can't wait to watch him grow and change and develop more personality traits and see what type of person he's going to become.
But it's not like anyone was surprised to hear that at the time, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh, Ned Fulmer is a good father, because he'd always been openly such a big family guy. Like, he was his wife, Ariel's, he was her biggest champion. He spoke constantly, constantly about his love and his care and his respect for her. It was always my wife, my wife, my wife. Okay, she received nothing but glowing praise from this man. Well, I don't know if that's really a fair thing to say, but she definitely was mentioned by him. Oh my god, all the time. Like, in every video that the dude ever started. Ever. His whole digital footprint consisted of him saying, my wife, in various locations. I'll insert a compilation here. I'll either make it myself or I'll nab it from another channel and give them credit, because I don't know if I've got the time to go through all of the Try Guys videos. But just pay attention for me to the sheer amount of my wifes that Ned utters in the next like minute or so. Please don't turn it into a drinking game, because I don't know if you'll survive.
Your bias is your favorite member in a group.
The blonde one with blonde hair, because it looks like my wife.
It would be really nice to have my spouse here supporting me.
Hello, Ned's wife. I love you. Well, I read it with my wife. Now to think about my wife. My fear today is that my wife is gonna think I'm hideous. Will she still find me attractive? I don't know.
Yeah, he's either doing things too early or talking about his wife, and I'm tired of both of that stuff.
You wanna just hit him?
Let's all go for Ned. Truce.
My car is gonna be named the Ariel.
Are you worried about us wrecking your wife?
I am, which is why I'm not gonna let them wreck it. This is the Ariel. I named it after my wife. Me and my wife holding hands. My wife. 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 I'm married to my wife. My wife. My wife. My wife.
So that's crazy, right? I mean, it's not really, but like you had to be there to understand how much he actually said it. But it was to the point that this was like an overall accepted facet of Ned's personality. His bio on Instagram, it literally read Ariel Fulmer's husband. Like, he was advertising his marriage to Ariel, constantly. They were almost rubbing it in our faces. You know, yeah, I married her. The only, like, feasible next step for him truly would have been that he wore, like, a dog collar with, like, Ariel Fulmer's husband on it. You know, property of Ariel Fulmer. That's the only next step he could have taken. But Ariel had this guy hook, line, and sinker, alright? And he was sure to mention it. The Try Guys even they all released little figurines of themselves, and Ned's was a little version of him that just said, my wife. Well, it said some other things, but it said, my wife, in his voice. I know this sounds like a joke, but I promise you I'm being dead serious. Like, this exists. It's probably people still have it in their house.
My wife. My wife.
But to be fair, all of the Try Guys kind of had a thing that they were sort of known for. Like Keith, I feel like he was the foodie. Eugene was a model. Zach, I feel like Zach was just kind of there. You know how every group, it sort of needs like a person who's just there to sort of balance everyone else out. And Zach was the guy who was just there. And Ned, as I'm sure you've gathered by now, he was the wife guy, okay? He was the guy that loved his wife lots. And you know, it's weird because I've heard people say that like wife guys, they've got a tendency to cheat on their partners or whatever, but that doesn't make sense to me because they obviously love their wives so... I see. So this all brings me to a question that may sound ridiculous if you have a heart, but hear me out. It just makes me wonder, why would a guy love his wife this much? And more importantly, actually, what would drive him to be this vocal about it? Especially if their actions don't align with their words. Because I don't get it. I mean, listen, I love my partner, okay? Lots, obviously. But I am not a wife guy, so I have no internal insight into this. And on this, look, I'm a simple girl. Maybe too simple, because when I hear someone say, I love my wife, typically my thought process is something like, oh, they love their wife. But I have learned through other people's experiences that have unfortunately been documented on the internet that that is not always true. It's not always that simple. Like, sometimes 1 + 1 does not equal 2. Sometimes, somehow, it equals a cheating scandal and a divorce. And listen, I have always been bad at math, admittedly, but I know that 1 + 1 normally equals 2. Like Brendan Urie, also known as Panic at the Disco, he loves his wife. Okay, they've been married for like a decade. He's written a couple songs about her. It's a bit cute. He loves her. And his fans know that. And John Legend, he's been married to Chrissy Teigen for probably about the same amount of time. And he literally wrote and released the greatest love song of 2013 for her. And 2013 was a good year for music, so it's saying something. But that is like the iconic love song of the year. All of me. Like, John Legend's love for Chrissy Teigen was inescapable. For a few years. And they're still going strong as far as I'm aware, and that makes sense, right? Because he loves her, we know that. Even like recently Macaulay Culkin, he loves his wife, kind of obsessed with his wife actually. He made it quite clear in his, what do they do, a Cosmopolitan interview? And it's adorable. Personally, I really get this one because he is married to Brenda Song. Like, okay, yay him. But you know, they're doing quite well, they're in love, and we know it. And then even like Andy Samberg, he's married to Joanna Newsom, talented musician. And oh my god, he raves about her. When he speaks about her, it's obvious he loves her. All of these guys like loosely fit into the wife guy trope in the sense that part of their branding is intertwined with their marriage. Like, their fans know, even casual viewers or listeners know, they love their wives. To the point where it's like sort of part of their public persona, you know what I mean? Perhaps not as strongly as some husbands, like Ned Fulmer.
My wife, 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 my wife.
But to an extent. And the relationships that I just mentioned, they seem to be, for the most part, and as far as the public knows, long-lasting and reasonably healthy. So it stumps me that sometimes the answer to this wife guy equation changes, and 1 + 1 does not equal 2. But it happens. And there have been a few examples of celebrities that have been labelled as wife guys by the general public that did not behave as a wife guy should. And one of those is John Mulaney. Before 2021, John Mulaney was known as a comedian, actor, writer, producer, and wife guy. He spoke publicly and positively about his wife. Like, mentions of his wife were sprinkled all throughout his comedy specials for years. But then, this is up in the air, we don't really know, but John either cheated on his wife, Anna Marie Tendler, with Olivia Munn, and then they separated, or they separated and John just moved on really fast. We don't know the answer to this. The general consensus now seems to be that John Mulaney didn't cheat. Apparently both parties have confirmed this, but I don't know. But either way, Us Weekly wrote about this split, saying, Us Weekly confirmed in May 2021 that Mulaney and Tendler, 39, split after nearly 7 years of marriage. 3 months prior, Mulaney completed a 60-day rehab program for drug and alcohol addiction. I am heartbroken that John has decided to end our marriage, Tendler said in a statement regarding the pair's divorce. So in May, Anna Marie Tendler was like, I'm really sad that my husband's leaving. And then by June, so 1 month later, John Mulaney was spotted with Olivia Munn. And then by September, the pair were expecting their first baby together. So that moved quick, and John was dealing with some really heavy stuff at the time, like addiction. So this whole situation is a bit murky, admittedly, but then explain to me Adam Levine. This guy, okay, Adam Levine, he's been married to a model called Behati Prinsloo for about a decade, and publicly they've been a happy, supportive couple. I mean, Behati even featured in Maroon 5's Girls Like You music video. I think she did it with her daughter or her son. I don't remember, and I don't know anything about their children, sorry. But what I do know is that now, as of 2025, the couple have 3 kids together. And while Adam's wife Behati was pregnant, cooking up their 3rd child in her womb in September 2022, an Instagram model came forward and said, by the way, Adam Levine was having an affair on his wife with me, which is a sentence that I could have never imagined having to say when I was jamming out to this love at the age of like 5 years old. Oh, how times change. But anyway, this girl she had some receipts. Basically, this Instagram model Sumner, she spoke out on TikTok and she said, listen, Adam Levine told me that he and his wife were going through the divorce process and it was just private and that's why nobody else knew about it. And then she realized eventually that he was lying, not telling the truth. They were still married. And so she was obviously upset. She felt duped and like she'd compromised her morals without really even knowing what she was doing, I guess, is what she claims anyway. But what she said was the reason she came forward was basically she shared some screenshots of her conversation with Adam Levine with a friend, and this friend had approached a tabloid to try to sell the screenshots, which is scummy, but that's a whole nother topic. So either way, Sumner said that this pushed her to release TikTok videos, you know, outing herself and talking about this whole situation. So I'll insert one of them here and I'll let her sort of talk for herself.
I'm just gonna rip the Band-Aid off because I've retaken this like 10 times now. Essentially, I was having an affair with a man who's married to a Victoria's Secret model. At the time, you know, I was young, I was naive, and I mean, quite frankly, I feel exploited. I wasn't in the scene like I am now, so I was definitely very easily manipulated. Maroon 5 is practically elevator music at this point, so I'm sure you know who Adam Levine is. But Adam and I were seeing each other for about a year. After I stopped talking to him over, you know, a period of months, this is how he came back into my life. He said, okay, serious question. I'm having another baby, and if it's a boy, I really want to name it Sumner. You okay with that? Dead serious. I was like, I'm in hell. Like, I have to be in hell at this point. I mean, my morals were unknowingly compromised. I was completely manipulated. I'm gonna handle this privately. I never wanted to come forward because obviously I know the implications that come with doing what I do, making money the way I do, and being an Instagram model. So being tied to a story like this, it's like, I know the stereotypes. I had sent some screenshots recklessly to a few friends I thought I trusted, and one of them had attempted to sell to a tabloid. So here I am.
Listen, if Adam Levine was really cheating on his wife, or, you know, pushing the boundaries, and he was stupid enough to use what I'm assuming is his actual public Instagram account to not only do that, but to reach out to somebody and say, hello, beautiful young Instagram model that I have been seeing behind my wife's back. May I please request to use your name on the baby my wife is currently cooking up for us? Please and thank you. Then I am speechless. Because what? Although, side note, I don't know if you've heard of this, but I've heard some stories of men who have like they pitched a name, right? They're like, oh, we're gonna have a daughter, we should call her Molly. And the wife's like, okay. And years down the line, the man reveals that, oh, Molly's actually, like, Molly was the first name of my first crush, or like my first girlfriend. I'm not inclined to jump to the conclusion that that's like a malicious thing that the man has done, but just imagine, like, you'd definitely be blindsided, right? If your husband like pointed at your 10-year-old daughter one day and was like, oh, you know, I really like your name. I've liked it ever since I dated a girl with that name. First girlfriend, actually. Yeah, we were together for 5 years. You'd be like, sorry, what? You know what I mean, right? But anyway, back to the topic. After Sumner came forward, a couple other girls came forward as well and basically said like, Adam Levine actually did that with me too. And now obviously a situation situation like this relies on a lot of he said, she said, like you can't really confirm anything. Because especially on the internet, like Photoshop exists, lying exists. You can't trust anything on the internet, okay? I mean, I could be an AI. I'm just gonna let you sit with that thought for a little bit. But anyway, this is what Adam had to say about the whole situation. He said, I used poor judgment in speaking with anyone other than my wife in any kind of flirtatious manner. I did not have an affair. Nevertheless, I crossed a line during a regrettable period of my life. In certain instances, it became inappropriate. I have addressed that and taken proactive steps to remedy this with my family. My wife and my family is all I care about in this world. To be this naive and stupid enough to risk the only thing that truly matters to me was the greatest mistake I could ever make. I will never make it again. I take full responsibility. We will get through it, and we will get through it together. And I mean, I've got to give it to him. He didn't lie. He and his wife are still together, and they seem to be reasonably happy and well behaved as of late. But Adam definitely lost the wife guy team a point with this whole situation. And the wife guy team, honestly, they lost so many points in 2022. Like, they were in negative points, and it was to the point that they turned like loving your wife into a bad thing by definition. I mean, like, not really, I'm being a little dramatic, but listen, Wikipedia describes the term wife guy as used on social media as referring to a man whose fame is owed to the content he posts about his wife. The term has been applied more broadly to men who use their wife to upgrade their social standing or public persona. And you'll notice that this definition does not like directly mention or specifically focus on celebrities or influencers. And that's because it doesn't only happen in those circles. I mean, even off the topic of influencers and celebrities, because honestly, they're not always the greatest example of real world people, are they? I found this article on Business Insider. It was written by a lady called Rebecca Tidy, and it was entitled, I was married to a wife guy for 10 years. He cheated on me, so I ended it. It's poetic, right? And what she mentioned about her husband was very similar to what we see in, celebrity wife guys, the traits of people like Ned Fulmer. He had Rebecca's husband. He had devoted husband in his Twitter bio. And he spoke of his wife to everyone with love and adoration. He wasn't even scared to post lovey-dovey Facebook status updates about her while she was away traveling, which I would have strongly encouraged him not to do personally. But regardless, this man, he curated a personal brand for himself, and it was that of a wife guy. He was a wife guy. So when he cheated on Rebecca, everyone around them was like, oh, but he loves his wifey. He just made a little boo-boo. But Rebecca went on to say, just because this guy was publicly a saint in their marriage, it doesn't mean that that was reflected behind the scenes. Rebecca wrote, she said, the oh so predictable selfies of him in blue scrubs while I was being sliced open to deliver our baby brought him effusive praise from online observers. Yet the fact that he was at a Christmas party when I came home from the hospital with our newborn slipped by unnoticed. I believe that my ex-husband had a deep desire to be seen as a selfless hero. He thrived on recognition and congratulatory responses to his posts, but as any reader of childhood fairy tales knows, where there's a hero, there's always a villain. The heroic cops have their villainous robbers, while the wife guy has, well, his wife. My ex basked in the halo effect of being a devoted husband, a label that all too frequently renders almost any negative characteristic void. Thanks to his public displays of emotion and vulnerability, people overlooked his flirting, excessive partying, and questionable ways. They didn't know that he really changed a diaper, but he was always sure to share a selfie on the rare occasion that he did. And other than being upsetting, because that sucks, this essay was very eye-opening because it sheds a light on the fact that we absolutely don't know what's happening in a celebrity's life. We also absolutely do not even know what's happening in fucking Jemima next door's life. We only typically know what people are willing to tell us or what people are willing to show to us. And none of that is 100% the truth. It's maybe snippets of the truth. Maybe it doesn't contain very much of it, but we kind of wouldn't know that, right? Say we trust Jemima and she's like, nah, everything's good at home. We'll be like, all right, well, Jemima said everything's good at home. So while some guys might like scream from the rooftops about how obsessed with their wives they are and how in love they are, it could all be a facade. Isn't that just nuts? As someone on Reddit said, they said there's also just the simple fact of when somebody feels the need to advertise how much they love their partner or how great their relationship is, it often turns out the other way around. We see this everywhere on social media, not just even about partners, but in a general sense too, of advertising how happy you are and how perfect your life is. And someone else responded, this is the crux of it for me. Every guy I know who does the wife guy act has turned out to be either a cheater or an asshole behind the facade. That's what it is. It's a facade or a mask. They use the doting husband image to promote themselves chooses good, trustworthy men with integrity that have their shit together. That earns them trust and respect in business and amongst their peers, and women are more likely to let their guard down around them. It's the perfect cover for a cheater or an abuser. It's also used to manipulate the wife. She gets used to her husband praising her publicly and receiving all that positive attention about the relationship, like he loves you so much, you're so good together, you're couple goals. But when things start to go wrong in the relationship, then she can't confide in anyone or be honest about what's happening behind closed doors without ruining that image and disappointing everyone around them. No one wants to fall from the pedestal of couple goals to, oh shit, you guys have major issues. And while those thoughts do seem to reflect Rebecca Tidy's experience when it comes to being married to an unfaithful wife guy, obviously we can't speak for the celebrity couples that we spoke about because we really don't know what's going on there. We don't know their relationships or their intentions or anything, but it's something to consider on the subject, you know what I mean? Like something to chew on, and you can spit it out if you want. But you might be wondering, right, because I've held this little like Ned Fulmer scandal carrot in front of you guys for quite some time now. You might be thinking, okay, but what does this have to do with Ned from the Try Guys? You're gonna have to explain this to me, bestie. I mean, if you had a go at putting the pieces together, I feel like you could manage to get them done yourself, but I will happily so excited to yap about it. I'll spell it out for you very basically first. Ned cheated. Yeah, Ned Fulmer cheated on his wife, and it was a big deal for a while. It also made every phrase his little, like, Ned figurine doll uttered just so much funnier and so much more ironic than it was in the first place.
Ned loves bad ideas. My wife. My wife. My child is gonna see this someday.
So gather around, okay? Let me tell you the story. Sit crisscross applesauce right down on the mat there. Now, our story begins in September 2022. I'm not sure when it started for Ned entirely, but that's when it starts for us as the general public, and also kind of for his wife, I think. So at this point, September 2022, Ned had been a part of the Try Guys for almost a whole decade. His job was to hang out and try stuff with his besties, and he and his besties got, I'm sure, quite nicely reimbursed for their work. All right, not much to complain about there, I wouldn't say. I mean, I don't know, but that's just my assumption. It seemed like fun. And he also, because of this like platform he had online, he got to do some fun stuff that sort of related to his own personal interests too. Like he got to release a cookbook with his wife, Ariel. And that cookbook was like guaranteed to be successful, no questions asked, because it was made by Ned Fulmer from the Try Guys and his wife. Everyone loved them. And of course they wanted to cook like them. You are what you eat, and clearly they're eating something amazing, you know? That's what people are thinking. Oh, I gotta buy this book. And around this time, okay, around the end of 2022, Ned was also like consistently posting his wife on TikTok. You can see them, you know, like him and Ariel did date night TikToks, like outfit TikToks. They recorded themselves going on holidays. And there were even some of them like dancing around in the Try Guys' office building. All while Ned's mistress was probably like right around the corner. Yeah. See, because around September 2022, I know I am getting to the point slowly, but I'm getting there. It was revealed that Ned had been getting just a little too close for comfort with the Try Guys' production manager. Her name was Alexandria Herring. And by the way, she was engaged at the time as well. So I think rather than like seeing each other, they probably could have both benefited from seeing maybe a couples therapist. But either way, these two chose their paths and they did not choose that one. And this, you'll be shocked, this was the outcome. Yeah, they got caught. Obviously. I mean, like, you've got to remember, the internet is full of people whose talents are simply wasted. You know, sitting around at home just scrolling and searching things. But they should be detectives, government spies even. They're so talented at what they do. Like the, oh girl, have you seen the PHONIEST subreddits? They go crazy. Like there's this photo, there's this one of, someone sent this into PHONIEST and it's literally just Ned chilling with Alexandria at like lunch or something. Presumably on a date, but like we don't really know that. Or, I mean, you can see what we know. And that's just that the two of them are sitting together at a table for two. But this photo, I hope it's on that side. Is it on that side? This photo was supposedly taken in May 2022. Now, let me just state really quickly, most of what I'm going to talk about when it comes to this situation is word of mouth. And I also don't know how I feel about sharing some of the images because like, I'm just sort of not a fan of randomly taking photos of people, even if they're celebrities, and then like blasting them all over the internet. Like technically it's a public space. You can just take a photo of whoever you want, but it just feels a little uncomfortable. So, but photos like this are sort of imperative to the story, because otherwise I'd have like no evidence to offer you whatsoever, so I'm just gonna roll with it for this video. And then there was this person on Reddit, again word of mouth, so grain of salt, but they shared their story of meeting Ned at Madison Square Gardens. I think it was for a Harry Styles concert, and this was September 1st, 2022, they said. And they wrote, I passed them on our way to the 200 level on the escalators. It was 9 p.m. when we were running to our seats because Harry was about to go on at 9 p.m. God damn, I would not want to be up that late performing. That's bedtime. Could he start at like 6? Sorry, that really distracted me. What were they doing? We were running to our seats because Harry was about to go on and the escalators were basically empty. I got a selfie with Ned. Alex seemed annoyed that I recognized and was talking to them. It was just the two of them and I didn't see anyone else, but they might have joined people in the seats. We thought that if that were the case, there would have been like some photos shared on social media and we kept our eyes open for them, but nobody posted anything. But what really got me about this whole Ned and Alexandria situation is that there's this horrific video on a channel. It was called Rent Free. This person compiled some moments between Ned and Alexandria that were like caught on camera, posted, like uploaded to the Try Guys official YouTube channel, I think. And they really didn't age well. And listen, if I had to sit through some of these clips, then you do too. So I'm gonna play those for you now, okay? Have fun.
It's kind of nice.
Here I come. Oh, here I come.
Ho, ho, ho! Would you like to have sex?
Alexandria.
Hello, welcome.
And who was your favorite Try Guy? We can move on. We'll come back to it.
Girl, grab your junk on the dance floor.
If you dancing, she grabbing your junk, and you like move her hand away, be like, hey, that's more than I'm comfortable.
Not cheating.
I think that's okay.
Yeah, but if you let her jerk you off on the dance floor, that's cheating.
Alexandria convinced me to do so many tequila shots that I did squidding pasta.
That wasn't my fault. I didn't like it, so he ate his and my plate. About 2 pounds of squidding pasta in his stomach.
As one does.
Have you ever pictured anyone at the office naked?
What about you?
We're gonna get nailed. Can't wait to make that joke a bunch more time. My balls have retracted inside my body. Is that safe? Yeah. You know, we're not planning on a third child, but, want to have the option.
Oh, even just thinking about it is like sending oh my god, I feel hot. If that video doesn't make you cringe, a deep visceral cringe, then I don't know what will. I don't know if anything will. Isn't that just like horrific and disgusting? Like, do you not have the ick all over your body right now? I want to scrape my skin off. I feel so icky. Ew. And listen, I like to focus on, the topic rather than the person. I don't want to attack anyone's character when I don't actually genuinely know anything about them, but inarguably, I'd say it is a wrong thing to do to have an affair. So that's yucky. Like, knowing what the public supposedly knows, it's a hard watch. But what truly is beyond me when it comes to this situation is what on earth emboldened Ned to be so, blasé about the whole thing. Like, he was just so open about he was going out in public with his mistress, people were calling him online, or her online, sorry. I don't know if maybe he thought he was shielded by his wife guy persona and nobody would question anything, but they were out and about shamelessly. And I should clarify, I don't think there's necessarily anything damning about going out to lunch with a coworker. That could be perfectly innocent, right? A lot of the things that they were captured doing could be explained away really easily, but do you remember the first video I played? They were full on caught making out in some nightclub or wherever they were. It's go home. What are you thinking? It just my mind pulls up an image of or I can't even see images in my head. Aphantasia, look it up. It's very interesting. My mind feels the image of Ariel sitting at home, putting the kids to bed, or Alexandria's fiance even at home waiting for her. And that just makes the ick set in tenfold because it's you've got families. But as far as making out in public goes, again, because I can't really comment on their personal lives, I don't actually know, I can only speculate. I can say for certain, though, that that's where they've really messed up. Because again, like I mentioned before, a lot of what they did could have been explained away, being a little extra touchy with each other, going on these little private lunch dates, going to a concert together. Okay, we can discuss that. But as soon as those photos came out of them literally making out in a club, suddenly the other stuff can't be explained away anymore because you were literally just making out in a club. They got caught red-handed. I mean, what else is there to say? They dug their graves and they were about to be rolling in them. Because secrets, especially open secrets, they don't tend to last forever. In a Reddit thread titled "A Start to Current Breakdown for Those Confused/Late" on the Try Guys subreddit, the first point reads, 1. A user, now allegedly understood to be Will, Alexandria's fiance, made a post detailing the rumor that Ned had been spotted hooking up in NYC about 3 weeks ago. Am I reading this? Or am I just speaking? Ned had been spotted hooking up in NYC about 3 weeks ago, shortly after the incident in question with Alex happened. September 3rd was that night. But nobody believed them. The post was subsequently deleted. And I cannot confirm or deny any of this information because I was one of those people that arrived late to the party, like reasonably late. Like it's been like 2 years and the party's probably over. But this post seems to be or have been like the catalyst for Ned and Alex's downfall, or the downfall of their big secret, I suppose. Like that was the first crack. And then after everything, like just everything that like random members of the public had amassed, after that all came out about this affair that Ned was having, not only that he was having actually, but that he was having with a colleague or an employee, like specifically an employee that was below him in hierarchy. Because Ned was like, I guess, one of the faces of the company. Maybe the only people that he could have had an affair with without it seeming totally and entirely inappropriate would have been another one of the Try Guys. Anyway, I digress. He was having an affair and with an employee. And once the internet heard about that, oh my god, hell broke loose. I can imagine, like, putting myself in the shoes of Ned, I can imagine feeling like the "this is fine" dog, you know, the one sitting on a stool, like, surrounded by fire. And I can imagine, like, the fire would have been nipping at his toes. It would have been terrifying. And he would have had every right to have been terrified, to be fair, because everything after this just sort of, like, blew up in his face. After the news surfaced, well, actually, I just want to drop this in. I saw this tweet of someone saying, you know, the funniest thing about this situation is that someone on Buzzfeed is probably going to write an article about this. And they did. So that's like very full circle in the worst way possible, isn't it? But then, you know, worse, Ned, he didn't make an appearance in any of the recent Try Guys videos suddenly. I'm sure he had to have a very difficult conversation with his wife, who had previously said about Ned, by the way.
I don't think I ever told Ned that he couldn't do something. I guess I sort of trusted his like inner moral compass to not put anything out there that would bring shame to the family. But, you know, it is what it is. Stuff's out there.
So that sucks, doesn't it? And I'm sure, very sadly for Ned, he would have had to come to terms with the fact that his fun little affair that he was having at work was inevitably going to be over now. I'm sure that was hard to process. But someone shared a recap with PHONIEST about this situation, and I am going to read it to you, but I will remind you again that everything that we know about this situation that hasn't been directly said by Ned and Ariel or anyone else is speculation and should be taken with a grain of salt. I just feel like this will like fill some gaps that would otherwise be in the story. So we're using our imaginations, right? But this person said, December 2021, Alex's fiance Will went through her phone and saw her and Ned had hooked up while on some work trip. They ended up staying together, but Will reached out to Ned warning him to back off. Beginning of this month, I want to say, that's American dates. The 1st of September or the 2nd of September, Will and Ned's wife Ariel received videos and pictures from a few people showing Ned and Alex making out at a club as well as holding hands during the day at a market in NYC. Oh my god, they were so shameless. Did they think? But anyway, Ariel had just landed in New York City to meet up with the Try Guys and their significant others, but got the news, confronted Ned, and when he confirmed him and Alex had been in a relationship for almost a year, she got on a plane and came back to LA immediately. I'm not sure how the New York City event played out, but Ned and Alex were suspended almost immediately. When Try Guys had talks with employees, many said they noticed flirting, knew they had lunch hookups, and stayed at each other's places occasionally. I'm not sure how, but no, I don't know. And showed up to events together, for example, the Harry Styles concert, and they had big feelings that something was up. So this news has been known to the Try Guys for close to a month, but what sparked the social media questioning and then uproar was a few days back, Will released some images of the DMs he'd received on Reddit. Obviously, Ned has been fired. Now, most of this could be totally fictional. Like I said, I'm just trying to, like, you know, it's like putting a band-aid over a gap, trying to use it as a bridge. It's a bit flimsy, but the good thing is that this leads us to the aftermath, because that's all that we really saw of the situation. Oh boy. Oh man, it just did not look good for Ned. Because for starters, one factoid from that message from above that is definitely true is that Ned was fired. Okay, the Try Guys dropped him like a hot potato. The news came out and they were like, ugh. And I get that entirely because their images really relied on them being these like likable guy next door characters. And Ned couldn't lean into that image anymore because nobody would buy it because of what he'd done. And I think that the Try Guys realized that pretty quickly, and they came to the conclusion that he would no longer be valuable to the company. But not to mention he was also having an affair with an employee, so I think that was a little bit like iffy for them as well, I'm sure. And then maybe 2 weeks after the whole situation broke to the public, the Try Guys released a video on their channel in which the first sentence spoken was,
Ned Fulmer is no longer working with the Try Guys.
And in this video I wrote a summary that I'm going to use to share this with you because my memory's not that great. The Try Guys explained that members of the public informed them of the affair that Ned was having with a co-worker, which he admitted to them when confronted, which started the ball rolling obviously. And the Try Guys like I always use this word and I forget how to say it. Vehemently. They denied They deny any knowledge of the affair, and they said that they were as shocked as everyone else was by the news. We clearly did not know as much about wife guys back then as we did now, because I don't think we'd be as shocked nowadays. But anyway, they said they were following legal processes, but they were immediately aware that Ned's behaviour did not align with the company values, and so in nicer terms, they said that, you know, they dropped the hammer down on him pretty much. They said they removed Ned from the group, they edited him out of content that was filmed recently, and they also totally scrapped content that included Ned that they couldn't like feasibly edit him out of. And they also excluded him from merchandise. Like, the Try Guys lost a lot of money remedying this situation. And after a company review, Ned was dropped as a manager and an employee. And it was absolutely imperative for the Try Guys' careers as individuals even, and for the longevity of their channel, that they, you know, didn't sweep this issue under the rug. They sort of like had to address it seriously to get through it without much of a hitch, and they did that. And so I'm glad that at least publicly that was the stance that they took, because I don't think they deserve to be taken down with Ned, so I'm glad they reacted in a way that the public could appreciate. And I will say, I mean, like, they might be great actors, I don't know, they do live in LA, but they do genuinely, I mean, look at them, they look like a group of disappointed parents, don't they? They definitely don't seem to be in like high spirits regarding the situation. They know that something went wrong. And when you take into account that Eugene had said previously, he said content isn't just a brand or message that you develop yourself and then throw out into the echo chamber, it's a mirror. And the mirror that you are reflecting back at yourself can be so well informed, not only by your friends and family, but by the audience members who then help lead you to understand what is most poignant for them in terms of what you make. The four of us have shifted a lot in regards to the aspects of our personalities and our stories, and even the way we formulate content from what people like on Patreon or what the audience have said they like about us. You never know what makes you special outside of the little thing in your head telling you what you believe. I think as you become a more open person and let others in, just in your regular life, you'll be surprised how much you find and how much you can incorporate that into the work you put online. And so in saying that, I think it's quite clear that the Try Guys made an effort to showcase their real selves in their content, albeit with a focus on certain characteristics, obviously, but they put their heart and soul into that work. You know, they had like a personal sort of connection to the work that they did and to their audience. And so it makes sense that, you know, being in a situation like they were in that impacted both their personal and professional lives quite deeply would be distressing to them, you know what I mean? But as they did mention in their video, the company, like the Try Guys, the second try, it really took the smallest blow of this whole situation, because sure, these guys had worked together for years. By this point, they'd built a brand and a company together, so it was an emotional time for them, but there was a whole family in the middle of this tornado, like Ariel and the kids. They were having to deal with the fallout of Ned's actions too, and on like a very, very personal level, like that shakes up your whole life. Now, as far as that goes, I will discuss this to an extent, like there is some public information about it, but I will say that Ned and Ariel, specifically Ariel, have made a real effort to keep their private lives private after what happened, so I'm not going to dig very deep, just out of respect for that. But what I will say is that Ned publicly released a statement after this, you know, situation broke loose, which said, "Family should have always been my priority, but I lost focus and had a consensual workplace relationship. I'm sorry for any pain that my actions may have caused to the guys and the fans, but most of all, to Ariel. The only thing that matters right now is my marriage and my children, and that's where I'm going to focus my attention." Okay, Adam Levine. Sure, buddy. And then Ariel also released a statement. She said, "Thanks to everyone who has reached out to me. It means a lot. Nothing is more important to me and Ned than our family, and all we request right now, is that you respect our privacy for the sake of our kids." And neither of them, to my knowledge, have really returned to the public eye. Like Ariel, I don't know anything about, and I didn't really look into her because I don't think she'd want that. But Ned has sort of yapped a little bit, so I don't know. I'm going to give you like a brief recap of what I know about where the two of them, like as a couple, are at as of like 2.5 years later, and then we'll move on. But okay, so directly after the news broke, pretty much, Ned and Ariel, they either did a park walk or they just got caught by paparazzi, and at least one of them looks happy to be there. I don't know about Ariel. Oh, and the article I found this picture in was titled "Fired Try Guy Ned Fulmer, Wife Wear Wedding Rings Amid Cheating Scandal." So take for that what you will. But in more recent times, some dude posted on TikTok on New Year's and was like, "Yo, I met Ned Fulmer," which is so random, but I guess everything ends up on TikTok. And based on the comments on this TikTok, someone very confidently made a Reddit thread, and they titled it, "Ned is confirmed to be separated." And as evidence, they shared this photo of the comments, which read, "Was his wife with him? No, she wasn't. He told me he was separated." And then I scrolled down and I was very distracted by this, because someone in the Reddit comments, they shared a close-up of Ned's arm, and they simply said, "No ring," which is kind of what I imagine like a chatbot made by Gollum would be programmed to spot, you know what I mean? But then slightly further down in the thread, someone wrote, "I was the one that commented. He explained to me that they have no animosity towards each other and was asking me co-parenting tips since I am a single mum." But that's just what he told me. Another person commented "lol" before looking at this TikTok, I thought this was the TikTok of him and the kids at Disneyland a couple weeks ago. And I was like, what fan would go up and ask him for a pic and have a conversation like this while at Disneyland? Because there was another, I didn't see that one, but I heard about it. And then they said, edited to add, seeing other people met him on this night and he's a chatty Cathy about his personal life after being offline for 2.5 years, lol. And then this same person that said like they were the one that commented on the TikTok, I think, they responded to that comment and they said he had liquid courage, haha. And we all had things in common since he was a local. He used to live in Jack's Beach, which is where I work, so I'm assuming that's also why he felt comfortable sharing. He shared his number with my then boyfriend. So according to E! News, I saw this video in which they claimed that Ned and his wife Ariel attended the Eras tour and they did so together around like August 2023, and what I'm gathering is that it seems like they did stay together for some time after Ned's affair, but they possibly ended up pulling the plug on their relationship at some point down the line. And that is as much as I'm going to theorize about their relationship, because I really get the feeling that Ariel would prefer that it wasn't discussed deeply by some random fucking YouTuber. But I do want to mention, while we're on the topic of like Ned and Ariel's relationship itself and not on the topic of like wife guys and affairs and whatever, a channel called Spill Reveal, they made a video and they titled it All the Signs Were Right There, Ned Fulmer, in which they included these clips of Ariel speaking about their relationship and just of Ned speaking in general. And it didn't sound so great, to be honest.
Like Ned and I had the same thing to do one day. And we were here in the office and we were doing like some PR for the cookbook. We did it. And we drove our cars separately here because I think I had, I probably had a podcast in the morning or something like that. And I knew, like both of us were done for the day. And at, 4:30, I'm like, okay, I need to go home so that I can be home to take care of the kids. And Ned's like, oh, okay, I'll see you in like an hour and a half. I was like, why?
Yeah.
Why don't I stay here and do work and I'll see you in an hour and a half? It was just such an interesting thing. It didn't even occur to me. First, I have to give it to Keith. He is the sweetest husband in the entire world. I swear he talked the entire time about how clean his house is because of Becky.
He knows what's good for him.
He was so thankful. He was just like, Becky cleans all the time. Becky's so good at keeping our house. Becky does this. Becky's beautiful. I seriously, I was listening to the entire episode waiting for my damn turn. I was like, when is Ned going to say how great I am at cleaning and how thankful he is that I do all the work around the house?
Instead, he said you throw out his leftovers.
Exactly. Exactly. Because I clean out the refrigerator and I throw out the nasty leftovers.
That's so nice.
And he's mad
It is so
because
nice of
he
you.
thinks that like I threw away his meat because I don't like meat. What is that? What if I didn't clean out the fridge? What if I just
then you'd
left
have
it?
like 10,000 science experiments.
Exactly. We would have nasty stuff in the back.
And it's honestly so sad to hear how hurt she was by his behavior.
It doesn't make sense. I love my husband so much, but I was so disappointed. Like I wasn't even mad. I was just like, well, why does he not think that I clean?
Just leave his laundry
all the damn time.
Leave his laundry out. Don't do it. A whole laundry episode. We all know you. The audience knows you. We know.
I am excited to be 35. Married, no kids, on the couch with my husband, drinking wine, employed.
No kids, 35.
Good
luck fighting that biological clock.
She doesn't want kids, maybe.
Well, maybe.
I love this for you, Rain.
In a commenter on this video, they said, looking back, I think it becomes quite obvious that Ned was always talking about my wife and not about Ariel herself. He was never celebrating her, but rather he was celebrating himself and the fact that he was able to be the first married. Marriage was centered around what it meant to him, rather than the relationship between two people. That's why he makes comments like unmarried at 35, because he views it as a goalpost and a classification, rather than an organic consequence of two people feeling love. As uncomfortable as it must be for Ariel to watch people pick apart her cheating husband's behavior, I think it's also really important that as many women as possible learn to see the signs. You do clean well enough. You should split chores 50-50. Your husband husband should care enough to take down his own video if you're being trashed in the comments. And he should not make comments like that, especially not to other women. I hope the consequences of this scandal increase awareness about the signs of cheating and encourage more people to leave relationships where they don't feel nurtured. And I wanted to share that because, like I said a while ago, I can be a very simple girl. I have a tendency to sort of like take words at face value, or even not even that. I just like don't really lean towards assuming malicious intent. I'm always like, there's got to be some good in here. I like dig through it like a raccoon scavenging in the trash. So this I felt like was a very good alternate point of view from like said by someone who has good motive in sharing it. You know what I mean? Like encouraging women to be aware of things that need to be addressed within their relationships, I think is very important. And same, I mean, vice versa for men, but like on the topic of women, you know what I mean? And it just put some things like Ned's biological clock comment that he made in that video, it put it into perspective for me, because like sometimes people say stuff and I'm like, well, now why would you say that? Sometimes I say stuff and I'm like, why would you say that? People are just strange, aren't they? But anyway, someone else commented under this video, they said, honestly, her talking in the podcast about like, do I not clean good enough and all that, bro, you can tell she was just hurt about not being appreciated. It was never about the work she did for him. It was because she obviously noticed he didn't give a shit about her and didn't love her how Keith loved his wife. When you start to compare yourself to others, it means you've been shown you're not good enough. And I think they make a really good point about comparison in that comment. Oh my god, I just had this moment where I was like, oh my, is this me talking? I think I've been talking for too long. Like I looked at myself and I was like, is that me? I get like that after movies. Does anyone get like that if you watch like a really good movie and then you look in the mirror and you're like, whoa, I'm real. Anyway, if you're feeling like, I just think if you're experiencing jealousy over someone else's anecdotes and it's like overpowering a sense of happiness that you should be feeling for them, I would implore someone experiencing that to like take it as a sign to look inwards and think, you know, like, is there something I need to address? Do changes need to be made in my life? Because they make a really good point. Like, if you're, you know, if someone comes to me and says, like, my boyfriend told me he loved me today, and you're sitting there and you're stewing and you're like, my boyfriend never tells me he loves me, then that sounds like a discussion that you should probably have with your boyfriend, you know what I mean? Because you shouldn't have to, like, bottle up those emotions. Some things, well, everything needs to be spoken about. Communication is really important. Like, having an open channel of communication solves genuinely so many issues, because you can just talk about them. It's crazy how easy it is when you really care about someone. You want to make things work, and again, that sort of sheds light on someone if they're not interested in making things work and they don't seem to care that much, because you open up the discussion, they don't seem interested, and it's like, okay then. But in that way, I do feel like it's a bit of a blessing, I guess, that Ned sort of revealed his true colors, even unintentionally, because I think in a bittersweet way, like I said, I don't want to like theorize about their relationship too much, but on the surface, what we know, it seems like it kind of set Ariel free from what wasn't a great relationship. I mean, still, I do think it's a real shame that Ned like threw his marriage into the trash as well as his career, but it's hard to speak from outside the club, you know, like I don't really know what was going on in their lives. Maybe it's for the better for both of them. Maybe they're both better off and both happier this way. Who knows? But publicly, as far as like Ned and his career goes, because I just mentioned his career, I was quite interested. I was like, what is he doing for money? Like I said in my Onision video, I always wonder, I'm like, did you get hired somewhere? That's like my number one fear on YouTube, like posting videos on YouTube. I'm terrified that I'll go to get employed somewhere one day and they'll be like, babe, I really didn't like that video you made on Ned Fulmer. Like, nah, I really believe in the psychic twin, so I can't actually hire you. And I'll be like, oh no, it's come back to haunt me. But anyway, someone posted this Reddit thread and they titled it, does anyone know what happened to Ned Fulmer? And the answer was kind of like, not really. Someone commented he has something called Fulmer Inc., where he's allegedly working for studios and has something to do with crypto, I think. It was that or AI, as he was spotted at a conference. And his LinkedIn profile actually does sort of back up this comment to an extent, although his company is actually called Fulmer Media Inc., Fulmer Media Incorporated, which is great because Fulmer Inc. was really giving Monsters Inc. to me. It's like, you can't, like, it just doesn't, it didn't sound like a legitimate company. Fulmer Media Inc., it makes sense. Anyway, Ned's LinkedIn reads, Ned Fulmer is CEO of Fulmer Media Incorporated. He and his team create and execute impactful IP for studios across broadcast, streaming, and digital. Invest in startups at the intersection of culture and commerce, and consult for major consumer brands like Target, Google, Samsung, and Hyundai. Comfortable in both boardrooms and green rooms, he seamlessly navigates media executive, production, and on-screen talent roles. He previously co-founded Second Try LLC and its flagship brand, The Try Guys, which gained 8 million subscribers and over 4 billion lifetime video views. Prior to founding Second Try, Fulmer was an early Buzzfeed video staffer and led to the development of its video fellowship program, framework for rapidly scaling talent. He hired, trained, and managed over 120 full-time video producers in 2 years through a competitive up or out program. I'm literally losing my voice reading his LinkedIn bio. This has gone on for ages. His early career started in Chicago working at a renewable energy lab by day and performing improv and sketch comedy at Second City by night, where he was named a critic's pick by Time Out Chicago. He studied chemistry at Yale University and lives in Los Angeles with his family. I wonder what his family means, but I probably am not in the position to be asking that question. And his LinkedIn, on his profile, he encourages people to send business inquiries to fulmerpartner@gmail.com, which kind of makes me wonder whether I'm signing up for like a dating site or like a potential date with Ned Fulmer when I'm reaching out. You know, fulmerpartner@gmail. I don't know. Who knows? Let me know if you've emailed him. Did he ask you out? And on his profile, he's listed his skills as being video production, social media, and business development. And you'll notice the absence of a mention of, you know, being a wife guy or being skilled at monogamy. And yeah, I really think that rebrand is for the best, because being labeled a wife guy, clearly we've seen, sets men up for failure. Or I don't know about women. I haven't seen any women wife guys, so like, what would they be called? Wife girls, husband girls? An opinion article on a website called The Globe reads, "There is nothing wrong with a man who is open about loving his wife. However, the problem lies in when these wife guys are open about loving their wives to benefit from the public and himself, rather than his actual wife. For example, take Gomez Adams. He didn't constantly tell everyone how much he loves Morticia, but rather he showed how he loved her through his actions. There is a difference. A person can talk about how much they adore their spouse all they want and post to social media telling the world how phenomenal their partner is and how they love being a family man, but at the end of the day, what's done in private that matters. The overcompensation, especially after all those public husband blunders, is more suspicious than ever." And as someone said somewhere, I lost the comment, I'm sorry, but they pointed out that being a wife guy goes beyond just talking about your wife. They said, the wife has to be a part of your brand too. And I mean, like, it's not fair, right, to tell a husband that they can't speak lovingly about their wives because it will be detrimental to their careers if they do. But that wasn't really Ned's issue, was it? Ned's issue really was just how intertwined Ariel was in like every facet of his career, every nook of his personality. She was there. Like some of the other Try Wives, as they were called, they did in fact feature in the Try Guys' content. I think they had their own podcast, and like the guys, like obviously they had like Instagram photos with their partners, and they spoke fondly of their partners, of course. I mean, there was that clip of Ariel mentioning that Keith spoke glowingly about his wife. But Ariel and Ned, like, it was just extra. I don't know, like they had a cookbook together, they made TikToks together, their kids featured in Try Guys videos, and it really was just the fact that Ned's image as a good guy hinged on his relationship with Ariel. It hinged on being Ariel's husband. As someone on Reddit wrote, they said the other guys have non-Try Guys related projects. Ned was branding the family aspect for the Target sponsorship and his own podcast venture and his cookbook. I personally think he was branding him and his wife for a spin-off if the Try Guys' risk of having their own company fell through, like if the guys split to do personal projects. I think some of it was a calculated risk and setting up a way to care for his kids and family. If he didn't cheat, having the family branding isn't awful. Now, where family and his wife were his only identity, that's the misstep. It shouldn't have been his only branding nor his only personality trait. So I think like when you really think about it, you'd realize that there was just no clear line that was drawn between Ned's personal life and his career and his public persona. I think that really is where things became detrimental for Ned's career, especially in the sense that like Ned's public persona, his public image, it didn't seem to necessarily totally align with his morals and everyday behaviors. And I'm not saying that he had to be like perfect, because nobody's perfect. Nobody is like a static person, you know what I mean? Like you can't expect someone to act the same day in and day out and in different situations. But about this, someone on Reddit shared, it's not a wife guy problem, it's a making your life your brand problem. Making a brand means only showing the very best of yourself, and making it about your life means showing all of your life you can. But naturally, both those things can happen, which leads you to wonder what gets cut or not filmed. I'd imagine it's the worst in family vlogger stuff. We don't see the footage of the mum snapping at the kids because they don't want to be filmed playing outside today, or you know, they just want to play Xbox with their friends. We don't see the footage of the husband snapping at the wife while they're editing their videos. I just think it becomes a problem with parasocial relationships. These brands are articulated to show you a certain image, and when something happens outside of that, it shatters the image. It makes you feel like, I can't believe this guy cheated. He seemed like such a perfectly good guy in the videos he edited for me to see. And I think that that's all very important to consider, even for like the average person. This commenter covered things in like a celebrity and influencer sense really well, but I want to take on to that and just remind you that like everyone has a brand, you know what I mean? Like say you asked your friends, your colleagues, your family, or you know, like people who saw you at the supermarket and then 30 minutes later saw you at another store and now think maybe in the back of your mind that you might be stalking them. If you asked any of those people to describe you in 3 words, they could probably come up with 3 words. And then, you know, maybe you'll come up with 3 different words because you act differently depending on what scenario you're in or who you're with, what location you're you're at, and you know how well they know you, how you portray yourself to them. But generally, they're gonna have 3 words. Like maybe at work you're like friendly, engaging, smart. Maybe at home you're, you know, a bit of a hermit, funny, clean. But that's what people, well, that's a very basic idea, but it's what people know you as, right? And that is your personal brand. Like that's what people expect from you now. Like for me, it's people point out, it's like kind of creepy actually, probably. Wherever I go, I walk around with like little, I think I'm gaslighting myself into being happy. I'm like, but like I want to come off as friendly, right? I just have this little smile plastered on my face. It's unconscious, but everyone sees me and they're like, oh, that's the girl that smiles. Like people will say you're always smiling. So that's like the brand that I've created for myself, right? And like that's out of my hands. I didn't mean to create that. That's just literally how I walk around. I walk around smiling like a fucking fool. But I used to say when I was younger and I made YouTube videos back then too, and I wanted to be a certain type of person, like almost like an Emma Chamberlain, but like I spoke loud. I was, you know, I was like funny. That was my thing, right? Like I was funny. And because I was trying to create this flawless brand for myself where I stayed in those boundaries all the time, it bled into my personal life. So it wasn't just what I was portraying online, it was what I was trying to portray all the time. And let me tell you, that was exhausting and not worth it. It's a never-ending battle and it's not worth the stress it causes. You've got to build a brand that's sort of true to yourself. And it's okay to be flawed, right? I'd argue that it's actually better that you advertise yourself that way to the world. Like you're better off being upfront, being like, I'm not perfect. Because even if you don't claim to be, but you kind of give off the air of being perfect, you know, you don't want people to see, you don't want your facade to crack. I mean, people are just going to be like shocked when they realize that you're not, you know, you're not perfect. Because for example, say that you accept that you say things wrong sometimes. People kind of know that about you, right? Because you let it happen, you correct yourself if it does. But if you accept that that's part of you, right, then other people are almost sort of forced to accept that that's part of you. They have to do it too. So then if you slip up, right, they might know to, I'll let her correct her wording. Or they might think like, I know she just said I put the trash in the microwave, but I'm pretty sure she meant the bin. But then say you like fight your imperfections, right? You wear that mask and you're like, no, I'm fine. I can say everything perfectly fine all the time. But that doesn't actually come naturally to you. Then eventually that mask is going to slip. And you're going to say, I put the trash in the microwave, and people are going to judge you because they're going to think, oh my God, why would she put the trash in the microwave? Because they're going to think you actually did that because you never make a mistake. You know what I mean? I don't know. I'm getting tired, but my point stands. It was a dumb example, but just take from it what you can. I think I'm just getting tired of talking. I need to tie everything together. I think that, I guess I'd say that publicly being a wife guy, you know, if that's really what comes naturally to you and that's what you're compelled to show the world, then that's probably fine because that's a real thing for you. And because it's real, it's probably not perfect. So I mean, like, you're still going to come off as human even though you really love your wife, you know? You're still acting as like a normal human being would probably be expected to act. And so there's a little bit of leeway there, right? It's like, oh, he loves his wife, but he accidentally forgot to take out the trash, you know? You're not demonized because you forgot to take out the trash because you're not claiming to be perfect. You're just claiming, I love my wife, I try to help as much as I can, blah, blah, blah. So basically you're going to stay true to that image reasonably effortlessly, right? Because you know, you're showing your real self, and you're not just showing the world that you love your wife, you're also showing your wife that you love your wife. Like, you're taking it home. You're being that person. You're showing up as that person naturally all the time, or most of the time. But if someone is, say, more focused on the idea of like being a married man, more so than the idea of actually being married to their wife, who is actually a human being that they're actually supposed to love, you know, who is not solely their wife, or if, you know, they're overcompensating for something, and that's why they're maybe like leaning so heavily into the image of being, oh, wife guy, oh, I love my wife, then the issue is like when you lean into something that you're not, you're probably gonna paint that picture wrong, right? Because you don't know what it actually looks like. And then, you know, people are gonna look at the picture you're painting and they're gonna be a little uncomfortable. Something's gonna feel a little off about it. And then you're probably gonna like accidentally light your paintbrush on fire, right? And just burn your whole painting to ash. And was it even worth painting at that point? No, it wasn't. And I think that's kind of what happened to Ned Fulmer. It was just feeling that, like, you know, you feel that immense pressure of just everyone's expectations on you. And you know that they don't fully align with your true self because you're having to fight to maintain that image. I feel like that feeling of pressure can be so detrimental to your well-being, truly, that, as this Redditor wrote, you subconsciously feel like sabotaging your own relationship or yourself, I think, is the only option once feelings start changing. And I can't speak for Ned, but that could be sort of what he was feeling, where he was like, I can't do this. And it's interesting to me to think about that in other scenarios too. I'm not going to dig into this, but there was Jennifer Pan, was that her name? And there's a bunch of other people that do this to less dramatic extents as well, but she like faked going to university because she wasn't a university girl, but her parents expected that from her, and then because she dug herself so deep into this lie, she ended up killing her parents. Crazy story, but like that immense pressure, it's that immense pressure of like, my image that I'm portraying is not aligning with who I truly am, and then you're like, I have to do something drastic. I mean, I'm not trying to justify what she did, because that's never okay, obviously. It's just an example. I also did think about mentioning Chris Watts in this video on the topic of wife guys, because I think he was very much a likable guy who seemed to be very interested and concerned about his wife. But I decided against it because I just wanted to remain a little bit lighthearted. I thought it would be interesting to dig into though. So, but I do, listen, I have to end this because a girl can only talk about wife guys for so long before she loses it, okay? And I'm losing it. I don't know what to believe anymore at this point. Like, I spent so long writing the script and recording it, I'm confused. Am I Ned Fulmer's wife? Am I a wife guy in disguise? Am I an AI? I'm confused. I need a break. As far as my final thoughts, like, what I have learned from the hours that I poured into writing this script, oh my god, is that if someone's telling you, or even telling other people that they love you, but you're not feeling that love, there is probably an issue that needs to be addressed. There's probably a change that needs to be made. And also, if you're not happy in your relationship or your marriage, don't blow your life up by having an affair. Just maybe try other avenues first, you know, like talking things out. Oh, you could do therapy. There's this thing called, divorce as well. But yeah, no, as with all videos, I'm done yapping now. Oh my god, hallelujah. So it's your turn. I'd really love to hear what you have to think, or what you have to say about this topic. Genuinely anything, whether you think, you know, cheating is wrong or not. I think there's a general consensus on that, but if you see some nuance in the topic, feel free to discuss it. Tell me if you know some deeper details about the wife guys that cheated in 2022. If you know more about like the whole Ned Fulmer situation, if you know anything about the Try Guys you want to share, like, just yap. I love a good yap. It's getting kind of difficult to, I don't know how many views this video will get, it's all up in the air, but it is getting kind of difficult for me to keep up with every comment and respond to every comment, but I am reading them, and I'm always really interested in what you guys have to say. Like, I think it's so impressive, the knowledge that you guys have, or the questions that you guys have to ask, the discussions you guys have. So much fun. So please keep yapping. But like I said at the beginning of this video, stay nice, stay polite, stay considerate, stay respectful, and we can all be happy. And I'm gonna go. I really, really do appreciate your support and your time watching these videos. I hope you enjoyed this one, and I'm gonna go edit it now for the next like 7 million hours. So have a great day. It's been absolutely a blast, and I will see you hopefully in my next video. Bye guys. Thank you. Bye.